Hello, everyone. Welcome to a critical review of Salt. And no, I'm not talking about the table Salt. I'm Ariak Wolf, and Salt is a procedurally generated exploration game. Now, Salt was released back in August the 22nd, 2014, and is still currently in early access as of the 6th of July 2015. Its style is more a pirate setting in this archipelago surrounded by ocean. There's no actual mainland, so basically what the game is just a bunch of islands generated over time, randomly, whenever. It's just, there's an island here, if you go further out, more islands will generate, they're different, they're varied, and yeah, it's kind of like Minecraft in that sense, in the sense that Minecraft is also procedurally generated, though I'm not too sure whether Salt has a limit as to how far it generates, whereas Minecraft does, though it is just massive, so it doesn't really apply. The developer is Lava Boots Studio, and it's the first game, to my knowledge, that they have ever created, and I must say already that it is very, very good for a first effort. And it's also their first debut game on Steam. So their publisher is also the same, Lava Boots Studios, so the fact that Steam Greenlight works today is also very good to know. So in terms of dev support, the updates are regular. There's about a month in between each of the updates, and they tend to bring quite a bit out. With the most recent update in mid-June, there was a massive change to the user interface and the inventory, and user interface covers all that, but the inventory crafting system, just a bunch of things that might be quite interesting. There was also a change to the heads-up display, or HUD, as it's known, and they reorganized that and all made it more uniform. But anyway, you'll be seeing some footage of that probably when I was talking there. The updates are released for beta testing about 5 days early, though this has only happened once, so I think they've that may be a one-off or not, but I'm not quite sure, so don't quote me on that. And it's recently changed with the most recent update again. They changed the engine from Unity 4 to Unity 5, which is a bit of a change. I'm not actually sure, due to not using Unity, how much of a change that actually is, but, it's still good that they actually update their engine, unlike other games, cough cough, Call of Duty. But anyway, there are about 2 that I could find popular YouTube Let's Plays on Salt, and that was Paul Swords Jr., who is a common Minecraft YouTuber and has since gone into a lot of survival games, such as Salt, and Meatwagon22, who does a massive amount of games, but essentially what you need to know is they both made it big on Minecraft, and they both frequently play survival games. But anyway, let's get on to the graphics. So the graphics quality is very... I'm not sure. It looks like they've used... either taken very little amount of time on the graphical assets, or they've used somebody else's assets that have been pre-built into the Unity engine, but I'm not quite sure. But the water physics in the game are very, very nice. Probably the best I've seen since forever. But for an indie game, very, very good. And I'm quite pleased that they have waves. They have the tide rising and falling, though it's a bit odd because they have some water inland sometimes, which is kind of weird. But ignore that. Yeah, it's just really nice and pleasing to see that indie developer can actually do that these days, and people actually take their time, developers take their time to develop something like that, and it's really quite good. But there's been another, of course, recent graphical update in mid-June. That update was quite large. I must admit, it was about a gigabyte. Excuse me, sorry. And basically this graphical update made foliage a bit more... I'm not sure the quite the wording of this, but more aesthetically pleasing, I guess you could say. So they basically did a full rework of the foliage graphics, and it does look quite nice now. And it produces this live tropical feeling that is really, really good for the game. And because it's an archipelago setting, there's a lot of tropical regions, so it's really nice. But this effect is kind of ruined by the fact that the rock and the sand graphics are still outdated compared to it, which is kind of sad, because you'll be looking at this amazing tree with this amazing leaves and shadows and all that, and then you'll see this rock, and it's kind of disappointing and low res and just kind of ruins the effect. But anyway, I digress. The UI, the user interface, is very intuitive now, and inventory is easy to access as now, as I've already stated, and there's easily visible stat bars on the UI. That heads-up display, which is, is really good. So what they've done now, they've put the heads-up display stat bars in the bottom left, and you have on the top your stamina level for fighting and for sprinting. The red one is your health bar, and the green is your food, I do believe. Don't quote me on that. But that's what I've gotten so far from it. So now we go on to the gameplay. The crafting system, if you played the game before this most recent update, the crafting system has changed a bit, and for me it was a bit confusing compared to the old crafting system, so you may want to watch out for that. But it's also very nice, still works perfectly, and I recommend it's just fine. It works just fine. The resources are quite easy to find, though they are limited on islands, and you will have to, of course, move around and keep exploring to find more resources, of course. When I was playing on the medium-sized islands, or what I thought were the medium-sized islands / smaller ones, there were about 3 or 4 rocks or boulders on each island, which you can whack with a club and get it. Which, is a bit better than Minecraft. I mean, you can't whack a tree with your fists, because you can't use your fists. You can't whack a tree with your fists or a boulder and expect to break it. But, what can you do? So yeah, exploration is key to a long survival. Combat, very simple. When I was playing, I'm not sure whether they've changed it now, because I couldn't find any enemies after I updated. So, the combat, very, very simple. Just, there's an attack, heavy attack, and a block. So, left click, attack, hold left click, heavy attack, granted you have stamina, and a block, right click. And hold down right click, sorry. But early on, if you find enemies, which I did, I may need to change my save game file to find some more, but you can be bogged down by the sheer number of enemies. Granted, they may only be 3, but they have much better weaponry than you, and I wouldn't recommend combating them very early on. The boats, which I think is probably the main thing of the game, due to the amount of exploration and the vast amount of seas, they're cheap and they're fun to use. I hopped on one and I was right in there. Granted, it was only a raft, but it had its sail, it had its steering oar, and it was good. It was fun to use, though a bit odd. You got to get the hang of it. It will only take like 2 seconds, trust me. But yeah, it's really, really nice. And you can spawn them at any time once you've constructed the blueprint, so to speak, for no cost at all in terms of resources. So you spend it once and you can spawn it indefinitely, to my knowledge, and yeah, that's just great. So, treasure, another large part of gameplay. I didn't find much when I was going along, but you need stronger weaponry, I do believe, to find this more treasure, because I did find one pile, I think, but that was guarded by pirates. Almost died to them, but what can you do? So yeah, you'll probably want, after you kill a couple of pirates, get them when they're alone or something. Very, very easy to kill. Also, I might mention, because I didn't mention it back in graphics, that the pirates. I'm not sure the character models now, but they were pretty outdated and they looked a bit, yeah, bad memories. Now, I'm not sure whether this is a new system. I do not believe it is, but the food, I could not find any at all. All the time I played, I could not find any food at all. So you may want to keep that in mind. In terms of sound, which is probably my last point here, the ambient sounds, so suit in your environment. If you're out at sea, you'll hear the waves, of course, and I do believe there's some music playing at points. I didn't quite notice it, but it was like in the background type of thing. If you're in a jungle or something, or what can be counted as a jungle on a tropical island, it's rather small, of course, so... But you hear birds, you hear the leaves moving, and it's all very nice. It's very peaceful, actually, for the most part, until you run into a pirate, of course. But it's very, very nice, and I'm glad that they did that, and it's very refreshing and calming. That gets me onto the soundtrack. Now, the soundtrack is most noticeable on the main menu, and it's really, really calm and peaceful, and it's like you could just sit out there for ages and just go with it. It's very nice. Also, another thing I may mention, though it's not too important, is the day-night cycle. So, at nighttime, it's very, very hard to move around, I guess. Well, when I say I guess, I mean, I know, because the darkness is very suffocating, to say, though it's easier to spot lights from a distance so you can see pirate outposts and stuff like that. So, what is my overall opinion of this? A cautious recommendation. Of course, I say this because it is an early access game. It's very fun, but it's a bit repetitive because they don't have any kind of linear storyline or anything to actually move it along. But it's really due to the lack of variation. I mean, I could see the same assets on two islands, though one may have been slightly higher in elevation. They did have the general basic layout, and it was kind of sad, really. But it feels like a game that should have a storyline, some kind of storyline, linear or not. It should have like just that optional storyline just sitting there. And of course, because I said it was a cautious recommendation, as I've said already, it's an early access game. So if you take this review with a grain of salt, if you're watching this from a year from now, because this will be outdated, and probably, unless dev support ends, it will be outdated. And you could probably maybe most of this won't even be in the game. But it's a great debut game of Lava Boot Studios on Steam. And that's all I have to say, really. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. I'll see you all in the next video, where I do believe it's going to be an Elder Scrolls v Skyrim modded revival. Until then, see you all next time. Also, guys, I forgot to add, I did kind of stuff up, well, not really, but, there is a bit of a extension to the game that I didn't cover, but this is my experience within 2 hours of playing the game, so, of course, I probably should have put this at the start of the video, but what can you do? So yeah, just wanted to mention that there is a bunch of bosses and a bunch of enemies that I never encountered. But anyway, guys, I did hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.